Dany gets told she must enter the house of the undying alone. Piety tells Dany the way, and gives her the shade of the evening before she can enter. Inside, Dany goes through 4 rooms without a problem. However, the 5th room has no doors to her right. She feels something is coming, and there are terrible things behind the doors. Dany sees open doors, closed doors, and doors that open for her. Inside the doors, there are visions that go through the time from a little before Robert's rebellion to dance. When Dany reaches the end of the hallway and there are no doors to her right, she understands the first door to her right is the last door to her left and walks in. After that, the house starts showing her people who try to get her to go through the wrong doors. Yet Dany keeps going into the first door to her right until she reaches the room where the Undying are waiting for her. There seems to be a human heart that is full of corruption, yet is still alive, and it gives light the color of Rhaegar's eyes. The Undying gave Dany a prophecy, showed her some visions while trying to eat her. Drogon burns the house of the Undying, and Piety tries to kill Dany outside of it. So let's go through the prophecy, the visions, and what did the Undying want from Dany. The first fire Dany lit is the Drogo's fire. The first fire is the most important event in the story. In a Game of Thrones, Drogo represented life for Dany. The series gave her to him as a slave, yet Drogo gave her his power. He gave her silver that made her feel free, and freed her from Viserys. What Drogo gave Dany is her life, and she lit his fire for that. Now, if all 3 fires are related to the same thing, and the first fire is Dany's husband who gave her life, then the second fire would be Dany's husband who gave her death. Hizdahr and Drogo are opposite to each other, in a way that moves Dany's story in a circle from the end of dance to the start of game. A Game of Thrones starts with Dany, scared and lonely, wishing to go to the home with the red door. She and Viserys were running away from the usurper's knives. And Dany thinks Viserys is paranoid. Viserys, her king, gives her to be a slave, even though she assumed she would be his queen. Drogo took Dany as a gift and then made her his queen. He gave her his power and wealth. When she was with him, she stopped being scared. There was a poisoning attempt, an old woman betraying her. Dany lost her unborn son and became the mother of dragons. A Dance with Dragons starts with Dany being a conqueror queen. With her dragons, she is arguably the strongest person in the Planetos. However, as the story goes on, Dany became surrounded by knives in the dark. An old woman takes Dany's trust and slowly starts destroying her from the inside. Dany thinks she can trust this woman for some reason, even though Dany and her people killed the old woman's friends and family and took away a large part of her power. At some point, Dany starts to feel that she don't belong to herself. She's like a slave of some kind, and her chains are the life of her people. Dany gets guilty enough to chain the dragons. Hizdahr gives Dany literal death in the fighting pits. There was a poisoning attempt, and the wise masters try to turn Dany into a symbol for themselves, just like the harpy. Hizdahr tried to remove everyone who is loyal to Dany and put his people in their place, taking the power from her and giving it to himself. Dany warns a prince from Westeros about the dangers in the city, and the prince is so naive he doesn't consider her warning. We even get connections between Dany's life in Pentos and Dany's life in Meereen, and how she struggles after leaving them to the Dothraki Sea. In A Dance with Dragons, Dany's story in Meereen moves a full circle from her situation in Pentos with Viserys to the end of Game of Thrones with the dragon saving her. The third fire is for love. We don't know who represented, but if the first fire is for her husband and the second fire is for her husband, then the third fire will be for her husband. The mount to bed is silver. Dany rode it on her wedding night. The second one is a dragon. Drogon supposedly killed a little girl, and Dany spent most of the dance thinking about it. The mount for love is unknown. The three reasons is the thing that Dany thinks of the most. Dany thinks of Mary Masdor and Jorah Mormont and wonder who will be her third betrayal. However, we know POV characters are always wrong about prophecy, so let's think about treasons. A treason is not a simple betrayal, or someone not fully become committed to you from the start, or people wanting revenge for their families. Treason as a word is used to refer to betrayal of country, especially by trying to kill the royal family. It's also used in infidelity. And regardless of how much we try to make it fit, no character in Marine or a saucer turning their clock will ever fit as a treason. The treason for blood is Stannis. Stannis talked to Davos about how conflicted he was at the start of the rebellion. He didn't know whether he should be loyal to his king or his brother, and in the end he chose to fight for his blood. Also, Stannis was the one who was sent to kill Dany and Viserys. Sure, Stannis say they escaped him, and not what he would have done if he catched them. But knowing that Aegon and Rhaenys were killed, we can simply assume that Dany and Viserys would have been killed as well. This reason actually affected Dany. It forced her into exile her whole life, running away from the usurper's knives, never knowing peace. The second reason is Viserys. Dany was his sister, she was his heir and queen-to-be. She spent her whole life having him as her only family, and the only person who took care of her. Everything she knew is from him, and for 13 years she trusted him. And then he sold her into slavery. Now Drogo promised Viserys 10,000 Dothraki warriors, not gold. However, Viserys was supposed to meet up with the Golden Company to conquer the Seven Kingdoms. Dany thinks about the Golden Company laughing at Viserys when he tried to hire them. However, this happened when Dany was a child, and it's not like Viserys will take a child with him to meet up with soul swords. Dany most likely heard the story from Viserys, and if they ask him to have an army with him, then it would be a good reason for her to think they were laughing at him. The Golden Company's deadline to attack Westeros closing in would be a good reason why he tried to give Dany to Drogo, even though he thinks Dany is too young, and questions if Drogo will even want her, instead of simply waiting for a couple of more years. And it would explain why Viserys was so desperate in a Game of Thrones for his army, and couldn't just wait for a while. This betrayal is the thing that started Dany's story. It changed her whole life. Viserys' betrayal impacted Dany in such a way, even though it happened in the first chapter in a Game of Thrones, Dany could only manage to face it as a betrayal in her last chapter in A Dance with Dragons, when she was starving, thirsty, drinking from bad water, and having a miscarriage. Unlike any other character, Viserys' actions does count as treason. There is an argument about if Viserys actually knew about Aegon, or who would be king if Viserys had lived. However, it makes no sense for Viserys not to know about Aegon and the Golden Company. If Viserys didn't know about the Golden Company, Aegon, and their plans, then Varys and Elorio's plans would actually be stupid. They were relying on Viserys bringing with him a Dothraki army. It's not like the Dothraki will stay and fight with them if Viserys would die. And it is stupid to think Elorio, who knows Viserys, would think it's a good idea to blindside him with Aegon before the start of the invasion. Elorio tells Tyrion Viserys was a vain boy who thought he had a right to his father's throne, which hint that Viserys knew about Aegon and demanded to be the king, if he bring with him the Dothraki. The third reason is still unknown.